Okay. You're welcome to Integrity Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today on All Things Maritime. My name is Faith Onyebujo, and I am your host on the program today. And today on Integrity Radio, we have a special guest joining us today in the person of Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo. He's the lead consultant and CEO, 3T Impex Trade Academy. He's a renowned author, an international business coach, and he is a keynote speaker for the International Business Development Expert and one of the foremost international trade and finance consultants here in Africa. And he's designed most comprehensive export business readiness assessment programs in the world. Thank you so much, sir, for making time out to be with us today on All Things Maritime.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, today's discussion, is pretty straightforward and very simple. Today, we'll be discussing, it's a simple question. Who can participate in import, export in Nigeria and how? Who can participate in the import, export in Nigeria and how? And I'll just go to my very first question now, sir. The question: where can one get up-to-date information on import-export modalities here in the country?
That's a very, very interesting question because, the way our country is structured, we've not been able to put together a one-stop shop where you can get all the information that you need for import and export. So in Nigeria, for example, if you're importing, you go to trade.gov.ng. That's a platform where you apply for import and get information also about importation in Nigeria. But if you're exporting, you go to tradesystem.gov.ng. So Nigeria is yet to have a single window where we have all of them in one place. A lot of issues and politics are going on there on the government agencies. But for now in Nigeria, tradesystem.gov.ng will be a place to go to apply and also get information about export. And then you can also visit the Nigerian Export Promotion Council website. Nigerian Export Promotion Council website. And for import, it will be better to visit trades.gov.ng. That is more comprehensive. As far as import is concerned, you get a lot of information on that website for import, even for customs, SON, and a number of other agencies of government are all on that platform.
Okay. Just so that we are sure that everybody got that, can you just run us through that again?
Okay, I said that in Nigeria, you are yet to have a single platform where you have all the information in one place. To be able to get information about import, the platform for processing import, that's the this application for import, is trade.gov.ng, trade.gov.ng. That platform enables you to apply for import, to import into Nigeria, and at the same time, get information about all other agencies, NAFDAC, SON, customs, and the like, and a number of other documents are on that platform that give you enough information about import. On the export side, you have tradesystem.gov.ng, tradesystem.gov.ng. Tradesystem.gov.ng also provides similar information, but it's not as comprehensive as import. To be able to get more comprehensive information, you can visit the website of the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. Nigeria Export Promotion Council.
Okay. All right. Let me just go to the next question I have for you today. Thank you so much for that information, and I'm sure it's very key, for our viewers and our listeners. Please, can you help us paint a step-by-step picture for a better understanding of how shippers accept goods?
How
shippers accept goods.
Can you expatiate more on that? Accept goods. What do you mean by that? So how an importer accept goods.
Exactly.
I'm trying to see if I get that question. Let me try. The question is not really clear. So if I get it right, an importer accepting goods, I would rather the importer already ensure, when you say accepting that the good is okay, or accepting or receiving the goods?
Receiving.
Or receiving the goods.
Receiving.
Good. If you are importing, you get your buyer, your supplier abroad, agree on the payment terms, you transfer or you pay afterward, whatever payment term you agree, you fill your application form, submit to your bank send it to custom approved. When custom approved, you tell your importers, your supplier to ship the goods. He will ship the goods and send document to your bank. Your bank use that document to process your pre-arrival assessment report. With the document and the pre-arrival assessment report, your clearing agent can go to custom to initiate the clearing process, get the notification for payment of duty. You go and pay your duty, come back to custom to complete the clearing process, and the good is cleared, as long as there are no issue of documentation, discrepancies, and the like that can cause a delay. If everything is in order, by the time you pay your duty and you come back to custom, you should be able to get your good out probably within a week or two.
Okay, is this the same? Is it different for exporting? Can you walk us through that?
Yes. Now, if you are importing, you fill Form M to initiate the import process, and that Form M must be approved before your supplier ship the goods. If you are exporting, you fill a form called NXP form, Nigeria Export Proceed Form. If you fill that form to apply to the government, upon approval by the government agent, the pre-shipment inspection agent and the bank, then you can ship the goods. On the import, they will not ship until you inform them to go ahead and ship after you have received approval to import that good. That means if you are importing contraband, they will reject your application.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that you go through the application process, provide all the needed information to the bank and government before you are allowed to import your goods. If you are exporting, you still do something similar, fill the form, attach the relevant document. You also need permit. So if I'm importing, if it's food and drug, I need permit. But if I'm exporting, I need only one permit that covers everything. But if I'm now doing some peculiar product like minerals, I might need additional permit for minerals. If I'm doing food item, I might need NAFDAC. If I don't have NAFDAC for the processed goods, if I'm doing, if I'm exporting artwork, I might need permit of the National Museum. So apart from the general export license that everybody have, that is required for everybody to export in Nigeria, you might need some permit from some government agency, depending on the nature of the item you are exporting.
Okay. So if someone, let's assume that our viewers or listeners, someone is interested in this now and they're completely green, they have absolutely no idea what to do. Where do you go about, getting
for import or for export?
On both sides. Let's start with import first and then exports. A totally new person, what are they supposed to do? Where are they supposed, because you talked about getting some forms. Where do they go to get those forms? Who do they talk to? Where can they get guidance, so that they don't do the wrong things and get themselves in trouble?
If you are going into import or export, international trade is knowledge intensive.
Okay.
I would strongly recommend you do a training program. There are a number of capacity building programs available, some online, some you have to be there in person, so many of them. If you Google, you'll find a number of them online. So doing training become important. I'm talking about import now. So doing training important, then discussing with your bank. Because your banker have handled several of similar transactions, they can also advise extensively. So training, number one, talking to your bank, number two, then number three, working with an agent, a clearing agent who has done a similar transaction. So if you do the training, you talk to your bank and you have an agent, you can't get it. Because the training gives you an overview of what needs to be done. The banker tells you what they will be doing for you or what you need to do on their part. The agent tells you what you need to do as far as the clearing and custom is concerned. So, and your training will have gone through all of them together. So by the time you're talking to banker and the clearing agent, you will be seeing you will be seeing the information you have learned about and be able to ask a lot of questions from them. With all these three things done, you should be ready to be able to do your import. This provided that you already have a supplier, you already know how to pay your supplier or agreement, you have supplier to pay and the like.
Yeah.
Now, on the export side, it's entirely different.
Okay.
On the export, I would recommend you do an export readiness assessment. This can also be done free of charge online. Export readiness assessment. So you can assess your business and be able to know exactly where are the area I'm lacking. There are about 15 areas of readiness: the promoter, the product, the pricing, the paperwork, the potential of the goods, the purchaser destination. Different area of readiness that needs to be ascertained, so that I will know, oh, maybe the potential of my product is not good enough. Maybe there are documentation I require. I need to know what are the capacity I have. How do I raise money? Do I have the money? What is the pricing I want to sell? What are the quality specification of the product? All these need to be taken care of before you even think of signing any agreement with anybody that you want to export goods to them. So if you deal with the issue of readiness for export and you're able to sort out all the issues, because after the readiness assessment, you will know if you are ready or almost ready or midway to readiness or not even ready at all. So, but you will also see in the report what you need to do, the area you need to improve on, what you need to do in those areas. Then you can take it up from there. Now, having done that, then it will be good to work with a mentor, someone who has done it before. So that even when you have sorted out the issue of readiness, you're now working with someone that can guide and minimize your error rate as much as possible. And this just applies to any business. If you're going to do any business you have not done before, talking to people who have done it to guide, to give ideas on what to do, particularly because there will be issues along the line. There will be issues. But tapping into the knowledge of those that have done it before, then make it a lot easier for you. But before you even think of getting someone at all, just be sure you are ready. That means you have a product, you know the pricing that you want to sell, you have the fund to do the business, you already have an idea of how to get buyers, you already know what the potential product is, you already know the documentation involved. Then it becomes easier for you to be able to make the export transaction a success.
So the assessment, not only checks the, how ready you are, it checks the viability of the line of exports that you want to go into.
No, it checks how ready you are. It checks how ready. It doesn't check the viability of a line of export. It checks how ready. But when you are checking your readiness, you'll be able to know, for example, if in your product, one of the questions we ask you about pricing of your product and the competitiveness of your pricing and the potential of the product. So by answering the question or by sorting out the issue of pricing and potential, you will be able to discover the viability of your product along the line. So because by the time you see the report and you know that you score low in product or score low in potential and pricing, then you're supposed to go and check that. Or by the time you do your research in that area, you will know if it's viable or not.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for that breakdowns. Let me just quickly ask this. We're not going to keep you too long. How do we navigate? I mean, we can't run away from it. Corruption is something that we're still tackling, especially in this sector, the maritime sector. So in your opinion, how would you suggest we navigate corruption in the import-export business?
In import-export business, if you know what to do and you do it right, you minimize anybody asking you for money. It is when you have not done what you are supposed to do, either ignorant or either inadvertently, as a result of ignorance or deliberately, then you will be ready to have to pay. For example, you want to export. You did not process Form NXP, which is an application form. That already makes your transaction illegal. Now, if you are still going to go ahead, which you are not supposed to do, some corrupt people also are available at the port who will tell you pay 300,000 for a container and they will allow you to go. Whereas you will not pay a dime to them and you will do the shipment. You only pay your what's the name? Your clearing agent for his fee. Of course, in the course of his fee, he will still do I call it illegal fees. Some of the custom agencies, some of the government agents at the port, they sign off a number of documents and you pay for it, more like a fee. I call it illegal because if you don't pay, it's like I've committed sacrilege. So the agent already factor it in when he's charging you. But those are minimal, very, very minimal, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. But when they're going to tell you to pay a huge sum, it's because you have not done what you're supposed to do. So if you don't, if it's important, you don't, which is why I said capacity building. First of all, you should know what is expected of you. If you know what's expected of you and you do it, you won't find yourself in a situation where someone is asking you outrageous amount because you have incurred 5 million goods in some ground. They won't allow you to go. You can't return the good to the owner, and they won't allow you to ship because you have not done what you're supposed to do.
So what you're saying is, as long as you know what to do and you do your due diligence, Yeah.
International trade involve a lot of documentation. And a number of people don't want to do documentation because of that they are trying to avoid traces of their transaction. So in the cost to avoid transaction from being able to trace, maybe to avoid tax, whatever it is they're trying to avoid, that is when they avoid those documentation. And then, of course, there's no way they won't have to pay bribe for it to happen. They just, in my opinion, they're actually the one fueling the corruption, because if nobody brings up transaction, you just do your regular transaction and you're good to go. Let me tell you about the import. On the import,
yeah,
you are bringing goods, you undervalue, you underdeclare. You bring in goods of $20,000, you say it's $5,000. The custom will open the container now. If they see the container is more, you will now have to be faced with either them concentrating it, or you find a way to sort it out, or you go and pay the fee. So if you know what to do and you do it, you can minimize, sincerely, we will minimize corruption at the port significantly. If people know what to do and they do it. The real issue is some people don't want to do it for reasons best known to them.
And what happens in a situation of genuine, like we just talked about newbies now coming into the business? What happens when you have someone who is a greenhorn genuinely, there's a mistake, in the whole process? Is there a wriggle room?
No, just in the law court, they say there's no ignorance in law. If the regulation says you must do this, you must do it. So you're ignorant. It's not, you're not going to claim ignorance. If anybody can claim ignorance, this is what you're supposed to do. You must, because the system is automated actually. So you can't even go to the next stage without doing it.
Yeah.
And if anybody now help, of course it's going to be at a cost. It's going to be at a cost. So to avoid that issue you said, which can be a genuine mistake. For example, someone went to Germany, he saw a very fantastic car or a particular product. This will be good in Nigeria. Pay for it, put it on the ship, fly into Nigeria. He will have issues. He will have issues because he wouldn't have done all that need to be done before that good is shipped. When if they didn't seize that good and confiscate it, he probably have some relation and connection. Because you can't do that in Nigeria. You can't. You must declare by applying to the government you want to import that item. So if you bring it in and it gets here, you are now in distress. And of course, you might have to part away with a lot of money to be able to. So what you might have to pay might even be more than the value of the goods. So that's sometimes you have abandoned container.
Oh yeah. In fact, I was gonna ask you what, in your opinion, is or are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to the import-export business in the maritime sector?
Delays, discrepancies, demurrage, defective goods, and detention. Delays, discrepancies, demurrage, defective good, and detention. We call it 5 Ds of the challenge of trade.
Okay.
Now, so these are fueled by so many things. So, for example, delay can be fueled by that ignorance we talk about. Delay can be fueled by infrastructural deficit at the port. Delay can be fueled by issue of documentation. For example, if I have discrepant document, it will cause delay. Discrepant document means I'm presenting document to bank or to government or to customs that have inconsistency in what I claim I want to bring in and what I'm bringing in. Or what I declare to government and what I'm bringing in. So those discrepancy cause delay, any form of discrepancy. Now, when there is a discrepancy, there is delay. When there is a delay, there is demurrage. Demurrage is the fee paid for the usage of container or ship beyond the free period while the container is in the custody of the shipping line. So it's a big, big deal. In fact, another reason why people abandon container at the port is demurrage. Because sometimes the issue is so much and the delay is so long. By the time you look at how much you are paying, vis-a-vis the content, there's no point. Leave it. Then don't consecrate it, because if you now incur cost to clear, you can't make all the money back again because it's just a loss. So you rather cut your loss and leave the container, let them do whatever they want to do with it.
So you think
yes.
okay, go on.
Then you have damaged goods.
Yeah.
If you are doing international trade, you must understand insurance, clause A, clause B, clause C. Maritime insurance is extremely important. You must, if you don't insure, you might say the vessel will not capsize, and in the course of moving, the vessel became too heavy because of tempest, and they do what they call jettison, and the container is thrown overboard.
Whoa.
So it's just good to do insurance, so that if damages happen in transit, you can get a refund or a claim from the insurance company.
Okay. Have we gone through all the 5 Ds?
Okay, so I said delay. I've talked about delay.
Yes.
I've talked about discrepancies.
Yes.
I've talked about damage. I've talked about I've not talked about detention.
No.
I've not talked about detention, but I've talked about the last D, which has to do with damages. So detention. Damage and detention are two sides of the same. If the container stays too long in my custody,
yeah,
in the custody of shipping line, I'll pay demurrage. Container stays too long in my custody, when I take it out to load or to unload, I'll pay detention, because I'm detaining the container. So I pay detention fee or demurrage.
Okay. I'm just wondering, with all these 5 Ds, which are big deals, by the way, with all these 5 Ds, do we experience, I mean, in Nigeria now, do we experience more importers, exporters, how would I phrase it now, declining or, changing business, basically leaving that line of business because of some of these challenges? And do you think it's also a deterrent for new people to come into that line of business?
Of course, the mortality rate of business in export is very high. Very high. A lot of people have come in and they have to go out. Now we're having issue with Forex in Nigeria. A lot of people are rushing in because they need to generate Forex for fund their import. Some will have to rush out at the end of the day because of the errors and mistakes they make they are not prepared for, which is capacity building. That's on the export side. Same on the import also. The challenge of import right now is the delay from foreign exchange.
Okay.
About the delay from the port infrastructure and confusion there at the port and the road and the like. But beyond that, delay from foreign exchange. So a lot of importers they can't cope because there's a limit to how much you can keep increasing the price of your product. After a while, people will not buy. If your product is not food and drugs that keep people for survival, they will leave your product and do something else. So definitely a lot of people are leaving import because they can't cope. And for export, the real challenge for export is because people are not ready, they lose money, and they're not able to continue. And then, of course, there's dropout of the business. That's why I said the mortality rate is really very high. The number of importer in Nigeria is 30,000. Exporter in Nigeria is less than 4,000.
Whoa.
Yes.
So what can be done to remedy this? What would you suggest? What would you throw out there as a suggestion?
Readiness. Awareness about the need to be ready. People think that the way I can have a supply in Lagos, I'll go and pick up the corn from Kaduna and deliver to Lagos. That's not the way export works. So people go with that mindset into export. There's so many other intricacies involved because it's an international trade transaction. So people come in and lose money and pull out. So a lot of people come in. Like last year, the CEO of Nigerian Information Council came, over 1,000 people registered. But how many of them exported? How many of them will export this year? How many of them will export next year? Because of that lack of readiness, it increased the rate of losses and issues. Because of the losses and issues, mortality rate become increased. So awareness, capacity building. One of the things we do as an organization is to fill that gap. Actually, we do a lot of capacity building in export. Imagine for export, we have a 6-month program. You know, some people go for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day program. You can't get enough. Every day, 2 hours, every Saturday, 6 months. Why? We realized that when we're doing short training, the people were not getting enough. They were not having enough information to be able to make it a success. Import, a 2-day training is good for import. Why? Because import, you're not producing. You just buy, just pay, they will ship the goods. And clear, just have a import. You have the market, you have your money, get a good agent, pay them, they ship your agent clear, you're good to go. Export, you're going to have to determine the product, confirm quality, produce, do the shipment, get the buyer. What you have to deal with is a lot more on the export side.
For the export
so that's
side.
Why exporters are more. I know our people are used to quick, sharp, Indomie kind of transaction. Indomie can work in import, it can't work in export.
So for our listeners right now, what, for anyone who before this program was interested in going into this line of business, before they found out about the 5Ds, what would you, say to them, in spite of all this,
No, the opportunity is huge. For both import and opportunity is huge. It's like, in Yoruba parlance, they will say, if you want to have access to the inside the rock, you won't look at the edge of your axe. So you won't look at the edge of the axe. You must be ready to face the challenge head on. But sincerely, like in Nigeria today, if you export, for every $1 you bring in, CBN give you 65 naira. $1 you bring in. If your product is value addition, that means you're not exporting raw commodities, not cocoa. You're exporting cocoa cake, cocoa beans. I export Indomie noodles, for example. I don't produce Indomie. I export Indomie. I export malt. I export pap. I don't produce it. And I get rebate from CBN for exporting. Why? CBN encourage people to export. So the opportunity is huge. Particularly to generate foreign exchange is very huge. The challenges also are enormous. But challenge is a function of lack of understanding. If you have a good understanding, the challenges are not unsurmountable. You can find a way around them. You can sort it out. As long as other people are doing it successfully, that means you can do it. You just need to learn what to do to be able to do it successfully. So it's not like I'm done. The same for import. People are still importing very well in Nigeria and doing very well. They've just been able to identify.
Hello?
So it's like,
hello, Mr. Bamidele.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, you're back now. We didn't catch what you were saying earlier on.
Okay, I can't remember the last thing you heard from me. I was about quoting another proverb.
Go ahead.
I was saying that in Yoruba they will say, the person that will not allow you to be full, you add his own to the meal. You add his own to the meal. You add his own. So you notice a challenge, factor that challenge into your transaction. So you already factored it in. So for example, I want to ship a papa, there is delay. I will go and use a barge and move by water. So I can be faster rather than spending a week on the road. So it's just for you to anticipate it and find a way around those challenges. Because the fact is that in spite of the challenges, people are still doing it. That's the fact.
That's true.
And that means it can be done. And the opportunities are humongous.
Wow, that's quite interesting and enlightening conversation we've had with you, sir. Thank you so much for making time out to be with us here on Integrity Radio on all things maritime. For you listening, what he's trying to tell you is in spite of the challenges, it's a good business line. Don't be scared. Come into it, but come informed. I think that's basically in a nutshell. Am I right, sir?
Yes. Come informed. Yeah.
Come informed. Yeah. And those sites you mentioned, earlier on, are there also sites, if you could recommend some sites for those assessment
Yes,
tests
for
that
the
you.
assessment, okay, for the assessment test, hold on, let me get. For the assessment test, you can use, you can visit bit.ly/export readiness. B-I-T
Mm-hmm.
.ly, bit.ly/export readiness.
Okay.
Bit.ly/. If you fill and submit, you get a report within 2 working days.
Okay.
And it's free.
And it's free. Well,
Free,
that's
yes.
amazing. Well, that's a gold mine you just gave us here. Thank you so much, sir. That's all that time can allow us do today. Any last words, for our listeners before we let you go?
The maritime sector driving international trade is a fantastic sector with huge opportunities. Nigeria is not getting it right here. We're still on the way. We still need a lot of policies in place to be able to get it right. Sadly, majority of the people importing and exporting Nigeria, according to CBN, 60% are foreigners.
Whoa.
So it's extremely important we begin to take opportunity in these sectors so that the foreigner does not just be the one taking advantage of our population, of our country, and of the opportunity available in the maritime sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That has been our speaker for today, Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo. He's a lead consultant and CEO of 3T Impex Trade Academy, and he has designed the most comprehensive export business readiness assessment program in the world. And it's a privilege and an honor to have had you on the program. Hope we can call you in the future for further discussions.
All right, no problem.
All right. Well, that's all. This is Integrity Radio, all things maritime. I am your host, Faith Onyebujo. Until next time, have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much,
Bye-bye.
sir. I appreciate you.